Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Wednesday? I'm doing great. My girl's doing great. My family's doing great. I hope each and every one of you are doing great despite the times that we're living in. Happy New Year. Happy 2022. Hopefully it's a better year for everybody. If you could please hit that like button. If you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button so you get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of most of my videos. So what's up, what's up, what's up? How is everybody doing on this amazing Wednesday? I'm alright. You know, I'm chilling. Hard work week. Terrible weather. Hot, well, not hot, but coldish. Cold. Coldish, cold. Back and forth, back and forth. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather it either be real cold all the time or mild all the time. When it goes back and forth, it kind of F's with me. And I'm not a huge fan of it. But today what we're going to talk about, we're going to go back to Joyceville. So when I first went to Joyceville in 2006, I had no idea if there was white supremacy in the penitentiary, or if people could even walk like that. I had done all my time in Toronto. I had never really done time anywhere other than that, except for a couple YO places. But I'd always done time around black guys. I'd always grown up in a diverse neighborhood for the most part, except for when I was real young. But I just wasn't raised up around racism and didn't have a lot of experience with it till later on, older years of my life. But people ask me on this channel a lot, like, talk about some of the people and the things that I saw when I was there. So I'm going to tell you about one crazy old man. I'm going to call him Ken, just for the sake of the story. He's not his real name. And when I first went to Joyceville, on the range, I landed on 3A. There were 17 lifers on the range that time that I landed there. It was a very serious range. I saw a lot of crazy violence on that block, but it was also a good time. It was respectful con time. It just, if you stepped out of line, you got it. Now, there was one guy on the block that everybody thought was sus. We all knew he was a Klansman, but he respected the young white dudes, and he helped you out. So, at the end of the day, it is what it is. This is prison. He's just there. Now, when you're in the pen, back in those days, you had a lot of groups. So you had like the BIFA group, which is the Black Inmate Friends Associate, Native Brotherhood group, the Canadian Caucasian group. And in the Canadian Caucasian group, there was two separate factions. So there's the younger guys who are just younger, just a bunch of young white dudes, basically from up north in Ontario and stuff like that, who just hung together. And then there was like the old school guys, the crazier kind of psycho guys with the real racist background, the real racist tendencies. So this one specific dude on my block, crazy, crazy old man, he was in for an axe murder. Axe murder. You know, it's one thing to shoot somebody. It's another thing to stab somebody. It's a whole different situation to kill somebody with an axe. He also killed somebody in the penitentiary system with a black dude, despite the fact that he's an open Klansman. I guess things happen sometimes in the system that don't make a whole lot of sense, and I'm sure that was one of those times. Don't know much about the story, so I'm not going to speak on it. It's not my story to talk about. But I did live on the range with this crazy old man and saw a bunch of crazy old things. So keep in mind, I was new to the higher security penitentiary system, right? I was new to being around this level of convict, right? And I remember he used to let us go into his cell, white guys, and get coffee anytime you want. Just knock on the door. If there's no answer, go in, help yourself to the coffee. So I remember going in, getting coffee, and looking out on the windowsill because I hear a bzzz sound, right? So I look out on the windowsill. The man has jam packets all out on his windowsill. and there's bees or wasps all over it. The man had pet wasps. Different level of psycho. Always smelt bad body odor all the time. Like he'd smell up the whole room if he walked into it. If he walked past you on the block, he'd smell up the whole hallway. Just who he was. He would literally run, if you call it running, around the yard for hours. Just sweat, sweat, sweat. Go back to the block, go back to his cell, and go to sleep. And because he was an old psycho, nobody ever really told him to do anything about it. Plus, at that time, in Joyceville, was all single cells. If you had been there longer than a month or two, you would be in a single cell. So nobody has to really deal with your stank. Although people would tell him every now and then, bro, come on, dog. This old man was certifiably crazy. I remember one time we were sitting in the lifer room. Back then there was group rooms. Before a lot of assaults and stabbings and stuff, they used to have open group rooms without cameras in them. Where you could go, you could chill. This is the lifer room that we were chilling in the Ville. Man would close the door. Bro, let's go right now, run across the hall to the sports room and just start stabbing people. Now the sports room at the time was all black guys that none of us had any beef with, who were actually pretty good dudes. And this guy would just constantly want to incite violence, want to incite racial tension. Just who he was, face to face, he would smile, man. He would smile in all their faces, full snake stuff behind their back, trying to stir up a freaking revolution. Just who he was as a person. Now, I realized how totally insane he was one day when I walked to his cell, knock on the door. No. Come in. I literally opened the door, bro. The man's laying back like this with just a towel on his junk, a little washcloth, and there's a guy on the block sitting on the toilet. This is when I realized the penitentiary was much different than provincial. Close the door, exit, stage left. No thank you. You know when you walk in somewhere and it's just the smell of cocoa butter, and it still gives me nightmares to this day. Now, this man was also a sneaky dude, you know, like I said, liked to cause a lot of tension and a lot of problems on the block. And one day, an old lifer dude who I really like, he's just a little guy though. He's just a little dude. This guy felt some way about him, felt like he was trying to take over the lifer group or something, and sent this big, crazy Eastern European after him, who one day he's going through the closet in the lifer room and whack, sucker punched from behind, knocked out cold, and beaten to oblivion. For what? Actually a good dude, a good lifer, not like a weirdo or anything like that, and just attacked for no reason. And that is the savagery of the system. Do you have real friends? You can make real friends. But when you're playing that game, when you're involved in the politics and the subculture, how real are those people that claim to be your friends? You're going to put your life in their hands? Because there's a lot of people that put their life in one of their homies' hands, and it's a good choice. That person is one of their homies, and they ride for them. And then there's situations where people think somebody's their homie, they get caught up in a situation, and that person turns their back, walks the other way, and somebody loses their life over it. That also happens. You have to decide, is this person my friend? Is this person somebody I can trust? Is this person somebody I should do this with? And in most cases in prison, I would say, be super careful. Savagery exists. I've told this story before. I had a homie, did a bunch of time with a guy. After doing a bunch of time with this guy, he gets out on block. He's doing his thing. They link up on the phone. He goes down to meet the guy. Guy puts a shotgun in his face, takes all his dope. The game is savage. And it doesn't matter if you're tough. It doesn't matter if you're on point. It doesn't matter, because it'll catch up to you eventually if you play with your life. And it doesn't matter if you're in prison. It doesn't matter if you're on the road. Now, this guy played with his life. By running around politicking all the time, he got himself in a situation with another lifer guy and ended up having to run out of the prison and killed it like a 30-year reputation. The man had done years. Now, I'm sure people overlooked it. He's an old man, right? He's not in a position to fight this young killer. But at the end of the day, he didn't have to be in that situation if he wasn't constantly walking around provoking things. Now, he was funny at times. He did crazy, crazy things. You can see the serial killer in his eyes, although you're not intimidated by him because he's old. So you look at him almost like, I don't know, it's hard to explain what you look at him like. But in prison, you're going to meet great people, you're going to meet horrible people, and you're going to meet all in between. And this personal person was one of the people that I saw that made me think to myself, man, I really want to be doing this all my life? Do I want to get the prison burnout, be a 60-year-old man running around in prison, politicking, getting involved in the subculture? Is that what I want to do? So I'm thankful that I came across guys like this who clearly had mental health issues from years and years and years of trauma, prison, drug abuse, and untreated whatever. I decided to change. Obviously, I share my stories with you guys so you guys don't have to go through these things yourselves. If I could snap my finger, nobody goes back to prison, nobody's addicted to drugs, nobody experiences trauma. That's what I'd do, but this is 2022, baby, and that is not a reality. Sometimes people's ribs is touching, and sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and sometimes that can land you in prison. And at least with my videos, I can prepare people, and I can kind of help those guys that are green going in with no experience, be a little bit more prepared so when they go in, they don't disrupt and they don't mess everything up. They don't change up the energy of the block and get themselves in trouble. Now, if you do time in Canada, in most situations, if you're just a good guy doing your thing, you're going to be fine. You're going to cruise right through your time. You'll probably get in a beef here and there because that is the nature of doing time. A bunch of men being locked up together, testosterone raging, everybody's healthy, everybody's working out. Fights happen. Things happen. But for the most part, if you stay away from the politics, you stay away from the drugs, you stay away from gambling, and if you do have any debts, you pay them, you're going to be all right. Like, I did 7 years, Joyceville, 0 fights. I did a couple years, Fembrook, handfuls of fights. All through provincial fighting, because that's the nature of that kind of time. But once you get into a convict environment, everybody kind of gives you that respect until you lose that respect. Now, it doesn't matter what the situation is, prison is not worth it. You do not want to go there. And if you've thought about breaking the law and you're watching this video, don't do it. It's not worth it. And if you thought about using drugs and you've watched this and you're watching this video, using it once is a mistake. Using it twice is a habit. It is what it is. Don't play with your life. Don't play with your freedom. It's just not cool. If you could please hit that like button, if you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification button to get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of most of my videos. So, like I said in this video, you meet crazy people. This person, Ken, was one of the craziest people I've ever come across in my life. But there's a lot of times he seemed like a completely normal dude, and you would never know. And then there's a lot of times where he looks like a total savage. And that's how quickly things can change. Prison is a waste of time. It's a waste of talent. And if you're here, you have talent. Don't waste it. Love each and every one of you. The New Medical.